Okay? Both of these loans currently have an interest rate of 6.8%. However, that might change. Does anybody remember last summer when there was all the talk in the news about student loan interest rates? Okay. 2 days before it was supposed to jump up to 6.8%, there was an act of Congress, the president signed it, and it went back down to 3.4. However, that's for 1 year. Okay, so by the time you guys are going to college, taking out these loans, it's scheduled to go back up to 6.8%, but we'll see what happens with Congress and the president. It's not an election year next year, so it probably will stay the same, but we'll just see what happens. Those interest rates, though, are fixed. Okay, so if you take out a student loan, it's fixed at 6.8%. It's not going to change once you get that loan. Okay. The other benefit of a federal student loan is the repayment schedule. So with student loans, you don't need to start paying them back until 6 months after you either drop out of school or graduate. Okay, so if you graduate in May, you have until November to hopefully not move into your parents' basement, but actually find a place of your own, get a job, set up a budget, and then start paying back your loans. Okay, questions so far? Okay. Next type of loan then is the parent loan. Okay, parents, we're not leaving you out. Okay, this is the Parent Plus loan. This is the loan that parents can take out for their students' education. Okay, so even though it's for your students' education, it's still in the parent's name. Okay, this loan has a 7.9% interest rate. There is an additional application, so in addition to the FAFSA, there's an additional credit check that is necessary for this loan. With this loan, you can borrow up to the cost of attendance minus any other financial aid that the student was awarded. Okay, so if the cost of attendance for a college is $15,000 and your student's receiving $5,000 worth of financial aid, the Parent Plus loan can be for up to $10,000. Okay. The biggest thing to remember, though, with student loans is to never borrow more than you absolutely need. And students, I understand that at the time, a new Xbox for your dorm seems like a really big need, okay, or extra controllers or something like that. But you want to make sure you're using your student loan money for educational expenses. My favorite quote is, you can live like a college student while you're in college, or you can live like a college student for the 20 years you're paying back your student loans. Okay, it's really completely up to you. Thank you. I got applause in the middle of my presentation. Helpful. Thank you. With the Parent Plus loan, repayment begins 60 days after that loan is dispersed. Okay, so if your student's going to school in September, you can start paying that back in November, or you can wait until your kid's out of college. Okay. Obviously, interest will accrue along the way, so you can make partial payments or just interest payments if you want, but you can start paying it back within 60 days. Okay. There are then also private loans available, okay? And you might see these at your bank or your credit union. My advice to you is to make sure you shop around and don't start there. Okay, I've heard from many parents who say, oh, that FAFSA is too complicated, I'm just going to go to my bank and get a loan. Okay, you can certainly do that. I'm not your keeper, you can do what you'd like. But know that the FAFSA is not that bad. Okay, that's not the reason you should take out a bank loan. Shop around, make sure you're getting the best deal, make sure you're checking out the interest rates, the loan limits, the repayment options, everything like that before you take out any private loan, or any student loan for that matter as well. Okay, so that's the types of financial aid. We're going to move into now what you need to do to get that financial aid, which is to complete the FAFSA. Okay, so what's a FAFSA? The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And this is the form that must be completed to determine your eligibility for any of the financial aid that we just talked about. Okay, even if you are being heavily recruited by the college that you're planning on going to, you can't skip out on filling out the FAFSA, okay? It's an application that everybody needs to complete. Because basically, the only questions on the FAFSA are yes/no questions and numbers, okay? They're gonna take all your information, plug into a formula to determine your financial need, okay? Now, in addition to the types of grants that and the work study and the loans that I've been talking about, More and more colleges are also using that to determine institutional aid, okay? So there might be some of the colleges that you're looking at that will wait to see your FAFSA information before they determine other grants and scholarships that you might receive from them as well, okay? So again, fill out that FAFSA just to be on the safe side, even if you think, I'm not gonna get anything, you know you're not gonna get anything, even though that's not true, fill out the FAFSA, you might get even more from your college that you would otherwise. Okay, first question. Again, so if you can pull out that eval, parents, you can delegate it to your kid if you want. You can work together as a family, whatever you need to do. Please remember, if you look on the eval, my name's on the sheet. You're not being graded, I'm being graded. So the first question, if you look right on the front, there's number 1 with some options. If you don't know the answer, just circle E right now. That's just fine. So, what can you do on the FAFSA.gov website? A, complete the FAFSA. B, make corrections. C, receive tax information from the IRS. D, apply to college. Or just circle E if you have no clue whatsoever. Or not caring right now. Either way. Okay, I'll give you a moment here. You can phone a friend if you want to. Okay, 2 more seconds, maybe 3. Okay, we're gonna move on. I promise you'll get the answer to that question before you leave today. So, where do you go to complete the FAFSA? You go to FAFSA.gov. I need everybody to raise their hands. Everybody? Now repeat after me. I promise to only go to FAFSA.gov. Now, this is being recorded. You've all just been taped, so you can only go to FAFSA.gov. There are other sites out there. I'm not even going to say what they are, but they're FAFSA.something. That will tell you right now you can fill out your FAFSA and do your FAFSA right now because you might miss out on some aid. They're lying, okay? All that they're doing is they're collecting your information and will type it in FAFSA.gov for you, all for $80, okay? The first F in FAFSA stands for free, okay? You never, ever pay to fill out the FAFSA. I understand it's senior year and your parents are being asked to cut checks for cap and gowns and announcements and who knows what. The FAFSA should not be one of them. Ever. Ever. Okay? My point get across okay? Okay. FAFSA.gov is where you go. At FAFSA.gov, that's where you're going to complete your FAFSA. If you need to, you can go back and make corrections. And you can also retrieve information from the IRS. It's awesome. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So when do you complete your FAFSA? This is a big question that we get with not a super easy answer, okay? For the 2013-2014 school year, so those of you who are seniors in this room, who are going to college in the fall, okay? The FAFSA that you need to complete is available on January 1st, okay? If possible, okay, let me start there. You want to complete your FAFSA by your college's priority date. And in your folder, there's a flyer that looks like this, okay? Left-hand side in the back. That lists every college in Wisconsin with their priority date. Okay? They range from March 1st to May. If you're going to school out of state, your college will have a priority date. You can contact your college or just give them a call, find out what that priority date is. Okay? As we talked about, there is some aid that runs out. You want to make sure you get your FAFSA in by that priority date in order to make sure you get all of the aid you are eligible for. So the window of time that you have is basically January 1st to whatever your college's priority date is. Okay? Now, if possible, you want to get your taxes done before you fill out your FAFSA. Now, I always have a parent who says, Jill, there's no way in the world I can get my taxes done by this priority date. That's fine. then do your FAFSA. You can use estimates. Get your FAFSA in by that priority date. However, if you're like me, I don't know if anybody's like this, I get my W-2, all my bank stuff, collect it by like the end of January. And it sits on my computer table until April 13th, at which point I fill out my taxes. Anybody else like that? No? Okay, well that's me, okay. In that case, I don't have any children going to college, but if I did, it would be a motivator for me, get my taxes done ahead of time, so then I can use my tax information in my FAFSA, okay? So if you can, get your taxes done before you fill out your FAFSA, but certainly for sure, get your FAFSA in by that priority date, okay? If you have questions, just let me know, otherwise I'll take all questions at the end as well.
Oh,
yes.
FAFSA to the schools. Are you writing copies and sending it in? Are you emailing it? Are you?
That's a good question. On the FAFSA.gov website, you're gonna answer all the questions on the FAFSA.gov website and just hit submit. And that submit button will send it to all the schools you want to send it to. And we're gonna talk more about that in a bit. Okay, so you don't need to email it, you don't need to fill out hard copies, you do it all right on FAFSA.gov. Yes?
For divorced family, do both the parents have to go?
And we're gonna talk about that as well. So, hang on. Okay? Okay, so this is the disclaimer part of my presentation. Since the FAFSA is not available until January 1st, and the federal government, is the federal government, things might still change between now and January 1st with the FAFSA. I will bet my condo that it does not, okay, but just gotta put it out there, it's possible things might change. Typically, we would have heard about it by now. We haven't heard anything, so I feel very confident with the information I'm giving you. But just make sure as you're filling out your FAFSA, if things look a little bit different, it's just because they tweak some things along the way. There you go. Okay, so what do you need to complete your FAFSA? You need to bring 6 to submit. Okay, it's a nice, easy way to remember. You need 6 things to submit your FAFSA. And this is necessary for both students and for parents. Okay? Social Security number is a big one. Can't tell you how many times I've been helping a student with their FAFSA and the student says, I think this is my Social Security number. Okay? If it's not your Social Security number, that's called identity theft. So you want to make sure that you're using your Social Security number. You know what that is both for you and for your parents. Dates, birth dates. If any parents have passed away, that's necessary. People typically know those, but it's the marriage and divorce dates that people don't always know. Make sure either you or your student are aware of those dates. I did have one case where neither parent could remember their anniversary. That was funny. So just have that information ready to go before you start your FAFSA. 2012 W-2s and tax returns. If you don't have your taxes done, you can use estimates, so you want to at least make sure you have your W-2s. Your most recent bank statement. Okay, the question on the FAFSA is literally how much in cash checking and savings do you have? What is the balance of your cash checking and savings? Okay, doesn't matter what it was last month. It matters what it is the day that you fill out the FAFSA. And then they're also going to look for the amounts of any other income that was untaxed, and then the value of any other assets. We're going to talk about what those assets are in a bit here. Okay. If you notice, the FAFSA does not ask for any expenses. Okay. A lot of times parents will ask me, where do I put my credit card debt? Where do I put my mortgage? Okay. The FAFSA is only asking for income and assets. Okay. So, who is the parent? In the situation where 2 parents live together and are married, both parents need to provide that financial information. In the case of divorce or separation, the parent who provides the information on the FAFSA is the parent who the student lived with most over the last 12 months. Okay? It's not who the student should have lived with most, it's not what should have happened according to the custody arrangement, it's who, literally, realistically, did the student live with most over the last 12 months. Okay?